I also got to tell you why I'm excited to be here. I view and believe that this industry is one of the greatest industries in the world. And to be in front of a group of people of the greatest industry in the world that also have the opportunity, the gift, and the responsibility to lead and influence people in the greatest industry is really a treat. And I want to thank GAMA for the opportunity to be with all of you. So once I wrote my book called Bridge Your Gap, the most famous question I get all the time is, Jim, what's the gap? And you see, the gap is this vast difference between where the average producer is in this industry compared to what the potential is if they could just get out of their own way. When you look at some of the stats that we see, a bunch of which we already saw this morning about the lack of savings rate, the lack of people having a planner, the lack of people taking care of their risk management, and the amount of opportunity that's there, I don't think there is another industry in the world whose sales reps have such a bountiful, plentiful, maximum ceiling. It's unlimited, but yet they got to get out of their own way. I also believe that this industry was designed to be one of abundance. When I say that, I mean abundance not just professionally and financially, but personally and everything in the way you can have abundance. And the bottom line is that for most of the people in the industry, it's not that way, and that gap is huge. So one of the things I wanted to talk about in the brief time I have up here today is not just what is the gap, but also why does it exist, and more importantly, what can we do about it? Well, the reason the gap's there is real. This business is pretty hard. And there's a lot of things that make this business pretty hard. And I could stand up here for hours and list them and go into great detail. But we could just start with number one is one of the greatest human needs is the need to be liked, the need to be loved, the need to be respected. In order to get people to take action in this business, a lot of times we have to professionally disturb people. It's the antithesis of being liked and loved. More often than not, we have to share things with people that they don't want to hear. That's uncomfortable for a lot of people. Another reason this business is tough is because we have to go out in the field and talk to people and get them to do things that they have proven they cannot do on their own. They're very difficult for them to do, and we got to get them to do that. But here's the real challenge. For something that they're not going to see the benefit from for maybe 2 or 3 or even 4 decades, that takes the touch of a master's hand. To be able to get people to do the things they need to do and not have immediate satisfaction or gratification. That's the world we live in now, right? But in order to be successful in anything, you have to be able to master the art of delayed gratification. And saving money and planning for something that's not going to benefit you for 2 and 3 and 4 decades is very, 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 very difficult. We also talk to people about the possibility of dying too soon or getting disabled along the way. I don't know about any of you, but in all the years I was in the field, that was never a really fun topic, most of which people like to avoid. So let's just agree that this business is difficult, and there's a lot of other reasons for it as well. But then what happens is, what is it that we can do about that to close that gap? Well, one thing we could do about it is we could go back to one of the greatest talks ever. It was in 1940 by Dr. Albert Gray. It was called The Common Denominator of Success. I love that talk. And what he found in that talk is people from all different walks of life, people from different personality profiles, different economic backgrounds, education levels that were successful. He went on this endeavor and this research project and tried to figure out what's the common thread. Why are they successful? And what he found out was that they were successful because they had a deep, compelling vision and a purpose that had this magnetic pull that got them to do things on a day in and day out basis that most people are not willing to do and do them habitually. And because the pull of the drive that they had, the vision, was stronger than the uncomfortable feeling of doing things that most people don't want to do. So that's it. That's what you could do about it, right? You could just go recruit only those people and then just get out of their way, right? And then we'd have all kinds of success. But the truth of the matter is that those are few and far between. Most people realize that having a very powerful vision is important, but I can't tell you how many financial representatives I've worked with that, kind of think it's going to the mountaintop and sitting Indian style and hoping a bolt of lightning hits them, right? Or they go on a retreat and they try to write down their purpose or their vision. And most people struggle with it. Most people are not that good at it. It doesn't have that compelling, meaningful drive. And so therefore, if we can't recruit enough people that have that, what do we do with the other 90%? You see, I believe that it is our responsibility as leaders to equip those individuals with enough tools in their toolbox, arrows in their quiver, that put them in a situation to have the highest probability of success. And you see, I also believe that what happens is, in the marketplace, for the individual that struggles with a compelling purpose, the marketplace is just as big and just as opportunistic for the other individuals that have that purpose. The only thing is that they need to go about it a little bit differently. Because the other thing that exists for individuals that have that compelling vision and purpose is a high degree of self-confidence. And that degree of self-confidence, kind of like a muscle, helps them fight off their fears. And they're able to do things because of that self-confidence. So for those people, they have a big vision and they got high degrees of self-confidence. But for most people, what has to happen is the self-confidence gets built over time, just like an individual will build a muscle. And they don't have that God-given unique ability to see the future, to see a vision, and believe in the deepest part of their heart that they're absolutely going to achieve it. They can't think that way. What they need to do is they need to see it first. They need to have some victories, and then they need to have a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and they layer those victories on top of each other, and slowly but surely, they're able to transform what once seemed impossible to the possible to the probable. And that's the process that adds self-confidence as a muscle, and then the self-confidence as it gets stronger can fight off the fears, and the victories as they're layered on top of each other put them in a situation with the highest probability of success.